Let's revive this vintage, dried-up Urban Decay nail polish in the shade Gangrene from 1997. This was sent by Sandy, who donated the collection of her dearly departed and beloved friend Amy. Now, you may have noticed that the silver tips was my New Year's manicure, and I only just finished this revival the second week of February, so it wasn't revived without difficulty, so settle in. This polish was completely dried out, so step one is always to just add thinner. My thinner of choice is Seche Restore for vintage. I mean, I use it for modern bottles too, but I should note that it contains toluene, commonly used in vintage formulas, but is mostly not in modern formulas anymore. If you're wary of toluene, there's plenty of thinners out there without it, but adding it to polish that doesn't have that chemical won't do anything crazy to the formula. It might just smell a little more potent with it. When I'm dealing with a fully dried up bottle, I add enough to completely submerge the dried polish and let it sit overnight. It's now the next day, and I stared at this for a long while, thinking this isn't right. The mass of dried polish hasn't changed shape, which isn't a good sign, since you want the thinner and the polish to come together. None of that sparkly pigment even entered the thinner, we just have a pink syrup. My first instinct was to dump out what I am now sure was corrupted base, but I didn't listen to my intuition, and I proceeded to throw it on the vortex with thoughts and prayers. Spoiler alert, that didn't work out for me. But I guess this is an opportunity to address the elephant in the room, base corruption. And that just means that Amy at some point realized the polish was starting to dry out and added something to it, likely nail polish remover, which often contains acetone as well as perfume, moisturizers, and colorant. I don't blame Amy for doing it. In the 90s, it would have been one of her only options for temporarily fixing it. Adding acetone will temporarily improve the performance of a goopy polish, but as time goes on, it will affect the formula. Fortunately, for a heavily mica-forward polish, like 90s Urban Decay, we aren't going to see the color deteriorate like we would with a dye-based polish. But you'll see how things just won't want to properly emulsify as it should. You're probably wondering how dumping out the thinner I added would have improved things, and I'm really not sure how the chemistry works, but when I've been in this situation in the past, the thinner somehow pulls out the corrupted base, and once I dump it out, I can start fresh. At this point, I was still in denial, so I thought I'd add more thinner and see how it goes. But each dropper I added just added another couple days to this experiment. I'm speeding up this blending process since I've already foreshadowed enough that this is just not working out. And this swatch will just confirm that I need to take a few steps back. In this state, it's streaky and the mica is clumped up and gritty. It was also really slow to dry down. Fortunately, polish revival isn't like baking. I can undo this. Just let me cook. And by cook, I mean go to New Zealand for a few weeks while I let this bottle dry out again. And I'm back and jet-lagged, and since I wasn't sure TikTok would exist in the States post-ban, I barely filmed anything, so sorry for the content drought, fam. But at least the polish dried out a bit, so we can do this right. I'm just going in again with thinner, just like we did the first time, and we'll let it sit overnight. It's the next day, and we're gonna dump out this corrupted base. The polish isn't as dry as it was the first time, so we'll lose a little bit of mica, but it's okay, it's barely enough to paint a nail. As with most mediums, corruption runs deep, so did I get it all out? Probably not, but the pendulum is at least swinging towards progress. Now that we're back on track, let's add some more thinner and throw it on the vortex. Before Sandy sent this bottle along, it was probably my most desired shade in the 90s Urban Decay category. In a 1997 newspaper article, co-founder Wendy Zomner was quoted, "Anna Sui named the color Gangrene. She was mixing Frostbite with Oozy, so we came up with Gangrene for her." End quote. Frostbite was actually a deep blue, and Oozy was a gunmetal gray, neither having green flashes. I suspect maybe she misspoke and meant to say Bruise, which does have a green flash, instead of Frostbite, since that combo would have the look of Gangrene. Though maybe she mixed Frostbite and Bruise. Now that I'm saying bruise out loud, it has the ooze sound. Bruise, ooze, bruisey, oozy, I don't know. Instead of just going in with more thinner, I'm adding some fresh base from TKB. This is their luster base. The video is getting long, so I'm speeding up the mixing. And this should be our last dose of thinner. I'm so optimistic at this point, since it looks like everything is blending perfectly, unlike before. I know you guys just love when I raw dog these razor blades, but it's just instant gratification for me in removing this old price sticker residue. And now that it's beautiful and clean, let's swatch it. Is it perfect? No. But is it so much better? Yes. I am so thrilled. I got a silly comment the other day asking if the constant finger wiggling is necessary and quote, "I'm not a baby, you don't have to shake my toys in front of me to keep my attention." Expletive. I'd like said commenter to know that I'm actually wiggling my middle finger and the wiggling will continue until morale improves. No, but in all honesty, I do it so you can see the shimmer at different angles as well as see how it's leveling. But it also ensures that I get to a minute on TikTok swatch videos so I get paid. This dried gritty, but at least it dried. Top coat fixes it completely. Gel effect top coats are great for hiding the sins of polish. And here's the final look. I'll throw in some close-ups too. I love the blackened base and the green flash. If you're watching on TikTok, please check the links in my profile as the clock tick-tocks down on the band Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'd love to get my U to the Tube subscribers up since losing 500,000 from my OG community would crush me, so pardon my excessive redirection to my other socials. But same handle everywhere.